Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw from April 25th, 2022. So I want to give everybody a little bit of a primer. There is no news and notes this week, so we just be talking about just Raw. But I will be talking about Randy Orton a little bit, specifically some of my memories of Randy Orton. But he mentioned Mick Foley. Now, Mick Foley got absolutely roasted on Twitter. That is a separate video. We be doing that somewhere else where we can truly put in the time and the effort to discuss the situation and what happened with Mick Foley. So if you look at the Mick Foley talk, that will be in a different video. I don't know when it will be coming out, but it's already complete. We'll just be putting it up at some point. So let's get into Raw. So we had the Randy Orton 20-year celebration. Now, I know it's been 20 years for Brock Lesnar, and they didn't do a celebration of sorts. They put out, a commemorative title. They did one of those commemorative undisputed championships. They did one for Randy, too. It was the World Heavyweight title. It looked pretty sweet, the customized Randy Orton heavyweight title. It looked pretty sweet. The big gold belt, for people who don't know. And they didn't really do as much for Brock, but I know they did a Brock 20 sort of thing for a little while, but they didn't do like a big on-screen thing about that. I don't know if it's 20 years for Cena yet. It's got to be around that, right? It's probably about 20 years for Batista too at this point, isn't it? No, I think maybe 2013 or 2023 will be 20 years for Batista. I think he came the year 2003. I think he came a year after Orton and all of those guys, right? Brock actually showed up, I think, in 2001. So it might have been last year. It was 20 years for Brock. I'm not sure, but I know Brock, Cena, Orton, Batista, all of those guys. It's been 20 years for most of them already. So, but this is the first one they've really done like a big to-do about. And so there was a vignette for Randy showing clips of his very first match against Hardcore Holly, which, I mean, Hardcore Holly, my God, that's the first time I've seen that guy in I don't know how long. That's the first time I've seen that guy in forever. So Riddle was throwing the party, and outside the ring, you had all of these luminaries, such legends as Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. And I think it was a bunch of people out there. And I'm just kind of like, imagine being such a loser that your only role on the roster is to stand outside the ring as part of Randy Orton's celebration. And then it was heels. Like, there wasn't even like low-level baby faces just hanging out. Like, R-Truth and his gang, it might have made sense for them to be hanging out outside the ring. It makes no goddamn sense at all for it to be Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. Like, what are they doing out there? Do they even like Randy Orton? Did Randy Orton even speak to them? Did he speak to them in catering or anything? Did he pass by them? Like, what's the connection? I think they probably would have done, they should have done this as a This Is Your Lifestyle segment where, Riddle was bringing out people that was important to Randy's past. Maybe bring out his dad. Cody was a nice touch. We'll get into that into a moment. Maybe Ted DiBiase to bring the Rebag legacy. That would have been a nice little touch and could have made it a little bit more impactful. But instead, we just got all the crumbs of the mid card, all the guys who were just wrestling on main event. They're standing outside the ring. All right, so Riddle introduces Randy Orton, the man of the hour. Randy comes in, talks about how there's been ups, there's been downs, and he's in super babyface mode because none of this could be possible without the WWE Universe and all of their support for him. And he's really happy for Riddle. He's having the most fun he's ever had in his life because of his good buddy Riddle, and he says he loves Riddle, gives him a hug. I was like, oh, this is incredible stuff here. Randy's he's never been, outside of his mockery of a babyface in 2004, when he turned babyface after he won the world title and got jobbed out by Triple H. He started blowing kisses to the crowd and all that kind of stuff. He was being a super over-the-top babyface that was completely not who he was, and people were shitting on it left and right because everybody knew it was phony. But it feels genuine now. Like, he genuinely wants to do this for a long time, and he likes being in RK Bro and having this fun. So Riddle says that he wants to introduce somebody else who says that he's Randy's friend, a ghost from his past, and it's Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes comes down there, and the hug felt genuine, but then the handshake afterwards, like, you handshake after the hug, that came across like a politician. And Cody, everything he does comes across as political. But he's shaking hands with Randy like it's a photo op. Like, everybody take a picture of me shaking Randy Orton's hand. Riddle is there. Randy is there. Cody is there. I'm expecting Cody and Randy to talking about legacy and all that kind of stuff, and how, Randy was a mentor to Cody and all this kind of shit. And almost immediately, Seth Rollins interrupts, and he comes up and he's wearing this yellow suit. And he just dresses ridiculous. He's dressed more ridiculous in the past, but there was something about the green of this suit that deeply disturbed me. Anyway, he gets up and he says that nobody should trust Cody. He's going to try to steal Randy Orton's spotlight, like he tried to steal his spotlight at WrestleMania. That's what Cody does. He tries to steal people's spotlight. And then he says that Randy Orton, congratulations on the 20 years, but that's 20 years in the past, and that your best days are behind you. And and that the children of the future, he is not the present of WWE, and the children of the future will not be inspired by nightmares, vipers, or bros, but by the visionary, the revolutionary. He kind of gives his whole spiel. And then we get Ezekiel, who represents the future of WWE. Ezekiel gets in the ring, talks about how he was a fan, and he should have a say because he's the future. And he, of course, introduces himself as Ezekiel, Elias' younger brother, which means Kevin Owens comes out of the crowd. Like, why was he standing in the crowd? Don't know. But he comes out of the crowd to complain about Ezekiel being a liar, saying that they need to stop letting Ezekiel lie to them. And, of course, this turns into a big thing. The Usos come out next. They actually come down the ramp. And, they give mixed messages as the Usos talk about watching Randy Orton when they were 15 years old. And then they said, you have a favorite Randy Orton moment. And, because of course, they get in the ring and they said, we used to watch you when we was this high. And it was real little, like kids. And then he said, now we watching you at this high. And he did the eye to eye thing. I thought that was pretty nice. And what's that favorite Randy Orton moment, Oos? And that favorite Randy Orton moment is when they beat them, RK Bro, for the tag team titles. I love the Usos. The Usos are tremendous, man. Like, their style, that battle rap style, that back and forth, almost like the Locks. If you're ever familiar with the Locks, they do what's called in and out flows. If you've never heard of it before, most groups do a version of it, but the Locks have really perfected it. There's literally a song called In and Out by Sheik Luch and Styles P that you probably should go listen to. But that's one of the, but if you want to hear the smoothest version of it, go to Noriega's Band from TV. It's Styles P and Jadakiss. It's tremendous how they, they're sharing a verse essentially. It's tremendous stuff. But I like how the Usos utilize that in their promo, where one of them plays the hype man while the other one talks, and then they kind of bounce back and forth. It's really good stuff. So Adam Pearce makes the match of a big 8-man tag for the main event. Usos, along with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, versus Cody Rhodes, RK Bro, and Ezekiel. Interesting match. We're putting Ezekiel in the main event. As somebody said, they're really putting over the young boy, Ezekiel. So it was an opening segment. I wouldn't have put all the other angles involved in this. I wouldn't have done that. The Cody entrance, okay, that's fine. They tried to make everything make sense in terms of why each person was there. But at the same time, it just felt like a clusterfuck. And it just also felt like, why were these other people there? Like, why were they there? They weren't part of the rest of the angle or anything. So, later in the show, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins get into a bit of a tiff, as Kevin Owens was offended at what Seth Rollins said to him last week. He told him to get his fat ass in the ring. Seth Rollins laughs it off and says that it was a heat of the moment. He said it was the heat of the moment, and that so Kevin Owens says that he's a liar, and he's gonna make him take a lie detector test to prove that he was that it was just the heat of the moment. He just wasn't disrespecting them. So the Usos popped up and they started talking about how the tribal chief gonna be mad if they lose. And Rollins and Kevin Owens couldn't give a shit less about what the tribal chief wants. So they all kind of make a joke, but this was supposed to be their game plan segment. And of course, it didn't work out too well. So this match started at 10:30. The people started coming to the ring at 10:30. The match probably didn't even actually start until 10:40. So that means you had all of these entrances. Then there was some backstage stuff. Then there was a lot more stuff going on, and everybody was just standing out there like fucking goofs again. I've talked about that to death, but come on, the idea that guys are just in the ring. Like Cody was already in the ring. I think he was the first person to introduce, and he's just out there waiting as, they do literally everything else on planet Earth. They're doing backstage segments and some more shit, Make-A-Wish stuff. It's like, come on, man. Goddamn. Anyway, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Riddle, and Ezekiel defeat Jimmy, Jay, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins in an RKOs for all type of match. Of course, Randy Orton was going to win. It was the 20-year anniversary of Randy Orton. Of course, he wasn't going to lose. I think it was a pretty solid match. I actually like the idea of the match. This is the one thing that I do give AEW some credit for, is instead of doing rematches over and over again, they would mix it up. They would do tag team matches, they would do 6-man tags, stuff like that. So doing 8-man tag match is actually fairly solid. Now, yes, it puts a lot of talent in one match, but I think this show proves and it shows that Raw had a lot of talent, and you can afford to put 8 of your top guys in one match when you look at the rest of the card, because Raw is thick in comparison to SmackDown. SmackDown is dead weight, and not all of it is they pulled all the talent from SmackDown. That's not always the case. Some of it is the returns and the people that they brought in. But the main event was fine. It made Randy Orton look like he was still in his prime and he's kicking ass, and he really looked like the star of the show. They built this entire show around Randy Orton, even though they probably should have done more in terms of vignettes and maybe do some backstage stuff with, some guys that wrestled Randy like Triple H or Shawn Michaels. They showed their tweets. Like, okay, they showed tweets. Would have been nice if they did like some backstage stuff, or people that sent in some videos. Like maybe if John Cena would have sent in a video congratulating Randy Orton on his 20 years instead of a tweet. Like, tweet is easier, sure. But I think it would have been a lot more, in building up that story. And I'm very interested in where we're going with this. Again, I've been saying this since before Cody showed up. The real money with Cody coming back is him and Randy. Now, preferably Randy as the heel, but people are really loving Randy right now, and they don't really want to break up RK Bro. And I saw a lot of people saying it's going to be a real shame when they break up. It's like, yeah, it's inevitable. WWE runs these tag teams in their design to break up. They're not designed to be long-term prospects. But RK Bro is really working out, and apparently it's a merchandising draw too, because that's why they keep making merchandise for him, and that's why this team is still together, because apparently it's making money. So, but let's take a moment to talk about Randy Orton. I didn't really, again, I wasn't watching wrestling when Randy Orton really became the guy. I missed his entire first year and a half. So if he debuted in 2002, I never saw him until 2005. So I didn't see him win the world title. I actually didn't know he was the world champion. Nobody told me, so I didn't know. And plus he wasn't champion that long anyway. I think he was champion for like 2 or 3 weeks. My first real introduction to Randy Orton was his match with Undertaker at WrestleMania 21. That was the first time I really sat down and watched a Randy Orton match. And I was like, this kid's pretty good. The kid was pretty good. I kind of, as I was going back watching wrestling, I was like, yeah, this kid's not bad. I could see that, he was trying to wear a suit that didn't fit as far as trying to be a babyface, and it wasn't really working. People had really kind of enjoyed Randy Orton as a smug heel, and they were really into him when he won the World Heavyweight title, and because people were surprised that he beat Chris Benoit. So that was great. That was pretty good shit. The initial breakup of Evolution was pretty good too. I actually like that Triple H turned his back on him. I thought all of that was fun. It made sense to me. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, Triple H is burying Randy. I like the point, from what I was looking at, the point of it was to get Randy over so that Randy and Triple H can wrestle at WrestleMania. And that be the real crowning moment for Randy Orton. But Randy being sort of a dipshit and not really getting over as a babyface, they kind of put the kibosh on it and decided to go with Cena. Or go with Batista rather. So yeah, that's kind of how I saw it. So I really became a fan of Randy Orton almost immediately after his match with Undertaker. I started watching all of his segments, started paying attention to the little stuff that he does, and he is tremendous. I've never thought that Randy Orton. I thought that Randy Orton was, taking a break for a couple of years. Like there is some time there where Randy wasn't doing much. He was just basically showing up and getting paid. And those are the days that people talk about a lot when you say like, oh, Randy Orton's been doing this a long time. People are like, oh, Randy's boring and yada yada yada. It's like those were the days where Randy was kind of taking time off. He was in the ring doing stuff, but he wasn't doing much. When he was on, there was very little that you could do that was not better than what Randy Orton was doing. And I know they talk a lot about the rated RKO stuff, but that wasn't really my bag. I was a lot big fan of Legacy. I thought Legacy had real potential in terms of the way that they structured the group, especially after they got what was his name, Manu, whatever his name was, the other Anawai guy that was in WWE. They got rid of his ass. They got rid of him fast. He didn't fit anyway. But the Cody, Randy, and Ted DiBiase trio, I thought that was fantastic, especially when they was going up against DX. And it seemed like they had something. And, they kind of broke them up a little early, I think. They should have let them run a little bit longer. And they definitely should have had the Randy-Cody match. Or I think they had a triple threat match, and Randy beat both of them at WrestleMania. Which one was that? Was that 24? Where Randy beat both Cody and Ted DiBiase in a triple threat match? That didn't do him no favors. But, I liked Legacy. I liked Legacy as a group. I thought that was, there's always something there. They just didn't, I don't think they mined it perfectly, but it was great for Cody and Ted DiBiase to really get in there and work with Triple H and Shawn Michaels on a regular basis. So that was great education. Now, it didn't go beyond that because they kind of both got buried afterwards, but, I was a big fan of Legacy. When they really started doing the Viper character around WrestleMania 25, I was a big fan of that, the intermittent explosive disorder. He kicked Vince in the head and got thrown through a window by Triple H. I hate that was such a great build up and such an excellent angle. And then the match was absolute farts. And that's kind of become the legacy of Randy Orton, is that he main evented one WrestleMania and it was awful. Like he was the main event of one WrestleMania and it was awful. But every other time you put Randy Orton in the second match or the third match or something like that, he kills it. The match with Seth Rollins, the match with CM Punk, he killed those matches. He really did really good. But you put him in a title match against Bray Wyatt, and it's the shits. You put him in the main event with Triple H, it's the shits. Like Randy has to get some of those bigger, I don't want to say Shawn Michaels type of matches, like, because that's really what built the legacy of Shawn Michaels, is having those really good matches at WrestleMania. And Randy keeps getting put in these matches with Bray Wyatt and guys like that. He's wrestling those type of guys. And that's cool for a B-level pay-per-view, but you think like an A pay-per-view, he needs like a CM Punk or a Bryan Danielson or something like that to really work with. And that would have been nice. And speaking of that, I really love the Bryan Danielson Randy Orton feud. Now, the issue that I had with that feud, I know I wasn't on the internet at the time, but is that Randy Orton was sort of dehumanized in that feud, in so much as Randy Orton existed as the blueprint, quote unquote. If we wanted to have a WWE superstar, it would be Randy Orton, as people have said over and over again. So it wasn't even about Randy Orton. It was basically Bryan Danielson versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. And Randy Orton just happened to be their hand-picked guy, because he would be their hand-picked guy. So there was nothing really that Randy did during that time other than use his name to wrestle Bryan Danielson. And I think he lost most of those matches, by the way. But, he was kind of dehumanized from that point. So I didn't really like that, and I didn't feel like So I think the people were right to not really want Randy to be in the main event of WrestleMania that year against Batista, even though I would have liked it for Orton and Batista to have that match. And I still think that match should have happened. I just don't think that people were into Randy because it wasn't really about Randy. It was about Bryan Danielson against the Authority. Randy just happened to be there. He just happened to be present, you know. And then they did a similar storyline with Seth Rollins, you know, and Seth Rollins actually kind of broke out of that pack instead of being the guy that Triple H spoke for him and Stephanie was always there and all that kind of stuff. Even though they did help him a lot, there was a lot of Seth Rollins that was actually there. But I was a big fan of Randy Orton throughout the entirety of his career. I can point out really good matches that he had. I've done videos on Randy Orton before, so I'm probably talking about it a little too much. But so let's get into the rest of this show, which was Sonya Deville was defeated 3 different times by Bianca Belair. This actually got people so upset. There was one wrestling website that said, why doesn't Sonya Deville just make the rules no disqualification, no count out before the match? I'm like thinking to myself, like, do these people have we devolved to the point where wrestling journalists now don't understand cheating and heat? The entire storyline here is that Sonya Deville is abusing her authority. So Sonya Deville stays outside the ring on purpose, gets counted out. She decides that the match is no count out. So Bianca Belair has to come out there and get her. She then hits Bianca Belair with a chair. She gets disqualified. Sonya Deville says, no. This match is now no disqualification. And I'm watching I'm watching this account like, oh, this is so stupid. Why are you doing this? I'm like, because she's cheating, you dumb bastard. She's cheating. Clearly, she wants to create an unfair advantage. So after the match is no disqualification, Zelina Vega and Carmella come out there. Bianca Belair fights off all 3 of them. KOD pins Sonya Deville. Now, I did think this was funny when the same account, I think, says, why doesn't Sonya Deville just make the match 2 out of 3 falls? Which I'm thinking to myself, that would have been a great call. Like, right after she got pinned, she's like, no. This match is best 2 out of 3 falls. And just kept changing the fucking rules. Like, there's no limit to her ability to change the rules. But, she loses, which of course we all knew Sonya Deville wasn't going to win. Plus it was in Bianca Belair's hometown. So, and very few WWE superstars get to win in their hometown, but, they did a good job of telling a story in this match. This match wasn't really about Bianca Belair. It was much as it was about Sonya Deville and really hitting you on the nose, right on the snout, that Sonya Deville is abusing her authority. And if you didn't get it from the match, after the match, you get it. So Zelina Vega and Carmella is arguing. They had already broken up as a tag team, but they wanted to be the tag team champions again. And they made a deal with Sonya Deville that they helped her. They would get a tag team title match. Sonya Deville said, since I didn't win, you get nothing. And they're complaining, so she smacks both of them and reminds them that I am still your boss. So clearly we're building up to Sonya Deville getting her power taken away from her, which, to be quite honest, should have been a lot faster than it's actually going to occur. You know, like, she's supposed to be under investigation, and yet she's not acting like it. Like, whenever I see somebody under investigation, like at work or something, they usually try to tighten up. You know, they show up on time, they come back from break on time, everything is perfectly fine. He's smiling and, hey, how you doing? And making sure that all the people who might snitch on him see them, like, hey, I'm here. You know, I'm doing my job. Did you see? I'm doing my job. You know, but Sonya Deville, she's under investigation. She gets worse. like, oh, I'm under investigation, huh? Now let me really abuse my authority. I'm going to do a lot more now than I did before. That makes no sense, but it's WWE, man. It's for children. It's just for children. So Edge and Damien Priest, they have a backstage promo where Edge says that Damien Priest is going to handle his unfinished business with Finn Balor. He makes fun of everybody for being country bumpkins who voted for the sitting county mayor of Knox County of Tennessee. Then he says, we're better than your favorite wrestlers. And you don't want to hear that. You don't like the taste of that truth because it's not a cheeseburger or a bag of chips. You made me hungry. I'm not even going to lie. I was like, damn, I do want a cheeseburger. Anyway. He says he targeted AJ Styles' shoulder, the same shoulder he separated when they first met in Royal Rumble 2020. And I was like, oh, that's a nice little, I didn't catch that. So that's a nice little detail there. It makes sense that Edge and these older guys were getting an opportunity to actually do callbacks to stuff that they've actually done already. So, Damien Priest says Finn's final judgment has arrived. So then the match actually occurs and Finn Balor is defeated by Damien Priest. The match was good. Of course, the match was good because these guys, they work well together and they're good wrestlers. I mean, of course. But the entrance for Damien Priest saw Edge on his throne, and it says that Damien Priest was representing Judgment Day, which we are told is now the name of Edge's stable. Edge's stable is named Judgment Day. I don't like the name of the stable. Judgment Day. I don't like that. Whatever. Look, I'm gonna roll with it. I don't necessarily like it as a name for the stable, but I love the stable. They haven't introduced any new characters yet, but I love the stable. Poor Finn Balor loses again, but it makes sense that he loses this time because Damien Priest needs to be made whole. He needs to be elevated, so that people can see that he's on Edge's level and he's worthy of being there. So after Damien Priest defeats Finn Balor, he kind of kneels to Edge, who is, again, sitting upon his throne and buttoning up his suit. And we see that Damien Priest is, the right hand of Edge in this situation. And it's fantastic. Now, I know some people, I just said WWE is for children, but some people still miss things. And it seems pretty clear to me that they're going to put AJ Styles and Finn Balor together as sort of a proto-Bullet Club. And they're going to be the main two guys to feud with Finn Balor, to feud with Damien Priest and Edge. That seems pretty obvious to me, especially when I saw the Finn Balor tweet, which a lot of people, wanted me to see, and said, oh, Finn Balor's about to leave and go back to Japan. I was like, maybe, he's been saying that for a past month or two, that he's not sure if he's fully into it in the US right now. And, he's home, away from home a lot and that kind of stuff. But it seems like you got Finn Balor on this side and AJ Styles. They're both baby faces for the first time in a long time. They've never done those two as a tag team before. They teased it a lot back when Gallows and Anderson was there. They tried to get Finn Balor to join the club and they wouldn't. And then there was Balor and AJ, the Good Brothers. And I think AJ was a babyface during that time, or he was a heel, or however that went. So they never had those two together. And now there's the opportunity to bring those two together and to have these things really make sense. And I don't think that they're going to screw that up. Now, it does suck that Finn Balor lost, but I don't see that it's really affecting him. Like, I don't see all the losses affecting him that much. He still gets very good reactions and people are still into what he does. So it's not like it's diminishing him. It just sucks to see because you know how much talent the guy has. So I do think that they're going to put Finn Balor and AJ Styles together. And I wouldn't be surprised if Finn Balor doesn't show up to help AJ Styles right the wrong of losing to Edge at WrestleMania. So I wouldn't be surprised if Finn Balor is there to help AJ at WrestleMania Backlash. And I'm actually looking forward to that. That sounds exciting to me. That's a pay-per-view. Like there's very few pay-per-view tag team matches that I'm really interested in. But Damien Priest and Edge versus AJ Styles and Finn Balor, that sounds like fucking fun. Edge versus Finn Balor sounds like fucking fun. We've already seen Damien Priest versus AJ Styles, but I'm not against them doing that again. It's been what, about 2 months maybe since they wrestled again last time, and since AJ Styles was the reason that Damien Priest turned in the first place, they could skip the regular matches and start having Falls Count Anywhere matches and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fun to be had in this feud with these four guys. So I have no problem with this. I love this, actually. This is my favorite shit on Raw. Edge and Damien Priest. Damien Priest put on his demon voice where he laughs very deeply. He sounds like Count Dracula You know, like it's hilarious, and it fits. I am your punishment. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I like this. I actually like Damien Priest and Edge, and it's not forced. It feels like it fits. So Veer Mahan defeated Sam Smothers, whoever the fuck Sam Smothers is, and he choke bombed that fat goof on top of the announce table. It was funny. Veer Mahan is it's not working out. But then again, I don't know where they're going with this, because the Mysterios have disappeared, and nobody else seems to be willing to stand up to Veer Mahan. So I don't know what's going on. Why are we focusing on him so much? I don't know. Lashley was talking about the arm wrestling contest, which I forgot was an arm wrestling contest. I thought it was going to be a match. That's what I thought. I was like, oh shit, they having a rematch already? But it's not. It's an arm wrestling contest between Lashley and Omos. So Lashley says that he's got to be prepared for his arm wrestling contest. And he knows he's stronger than Omos, but he doesn't want to deal with the backstabbing of MVP. And that's exactly what happens. He called his shot. Lashley defeats Omos in an arm wrestling contest. MVP before the arm wrestling contest says he's been looking forward to this day, the day where Lashley is destroyed by his own ego, which led him to go to WrestleMania without him and forgot who made him. He is not the Almighty without MVP. So after he beats Omos in the arm wrestling challenge, MVP looks like he's going to smash his cane over Lashley's head. That gets Lashley's attention, and Omos attacks him from behind. Then we get basically generic beat 'em up scene where Omos is beating Lashley with the arm wrestling thing. It's like a table or something. It didn't look like it hurt at all. Like, Omos was being very gentle, so he's got to learn, if he's going to be a giant, he's got to make his shit look good. So then the official challenge was made later that Omos is challenging Bobby Lashley to a match at WrestleMania Backlash. I would have liked for them to put a stipulation on it. But whatever. It is what it is. Big fan of MVP. Not really liking how they're utilizing Omos right now. I would have preferred for MVP to just smash his cane over Lashley's head so Omos wouldn't lose. And like, him losing the arm wrestling thing was a bad idea. Like, we should never be like, it's cool to show that Lashley is big, muscular, and strong, but we already know that because he's already beaten Omos, right? So, like, as Omos is about to lose the arm wrestling thing, MVP should have just smashed his cane right over his head, like bop, and then we take it from there, So I'm okay with this, still having fun with it. I really like MVP. We need a little bit more out of Omos. I'm wondering if we're going to bring Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin back into this storyline, sort of to deal with MVP. I think that would be nice. And reform at least those three members of the Hurt Business as baby faces. Now, I'm going to get down on my knee and say to the wrestling gods, bring back the Hurt Business as baby faces. I would be cool with that. I would be cool with that. You gotta give me a break. Cut me some slack here, man. As long as Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin are there, they're not the Hurt Business together. They need at least one other guy. They need the last year an MVP. If they go with MVP, I'm still good. They go with Lashley, I think that's good too. But they need a fresh coat of paint. And I think the Hurt Business as baby faces can work. Gotta give them a chance, man. Give them a shot. The third match on the show, Tozawa and Tamina defeat Brooke and Reggie. Dana Brooke and Reggie. As Tozawa absolutely destroys Reggie with a top rope senton. It looked like it was brutal. Before this match, R-Truth says that he is a certified couples therapist and he's going to destroy them to bring them together. And he says that not only can he bring couples together, but he can keep them together. That's why he is a certified marriaging guy and now a certified couples therapist. It says that tonight was supposed to be an exercise in teamwork to keep everybody's working together. The 24/7 rules have been suspended. So after the match, after Reggie takes a pinfall, Dana Brooke was about to get pinned by Tamina, and R-Truth saved her. And then R-Truth rolled up Dana Brooke and tried to count himself. So he tries to, because he's the referee. So he's like 1, 2, and Dana Brooke kicked out and ran away, yelling that she trusted R-Truth and how could he do this? Look, everything that these guys do is dumb. But I gotta tell you, that was pretty smart. He made himself a referee so that he could try to count his own 3 count. Like, that's actually not bad. That's not a bad plan. That's actually not a bad plan. All right, so Becky Lynch is back. She's back, baby. And she looks like something out of one of those old rock videos. Like something out of I don't want to say, like, one of those German, weird German rock videos where everything is about shoulder pads and angles and, everything's all sharp. And, it's like, it's really weird. And so she comes back and she says this for the first time in 3 years. She's on Raw without her title, and she wasn't sure who she was without the title. And she looks in the mirror and she doesn't recognize herself anymore. And she says that she's hit rock bottom. And she was doing a really good job of selling this, stammering, being confused. And then she puts the microphone down and just kind of has her epiphany, her revelation right then and there, and says, if I've hit rock bottom, then there's nowhere to go but up. And that, all of these people are going to now witness the great Becky Lynch comeback. She's going to defeat Bianca Belair, win back her title, and then all of these people are going to be inspired by her rise, and nobody will be able to stop her. And she lists all of these people who won't be able to stop her, and then Asuka's music plays. And Asuka dances to the ring, and she's just dancing all the time. And, of course, you get the I will stop you because you are not ready for Asuka. And she's got, her arm is clear. She's got a new set of teeth. Everything's great for Asuka. It's all coming up roses for Asuka. Except for the fact she's got to wrestle Becky Lynch. So now we're in this situation where Becky Lynch, she doesn't need the belt. She can feud without the belt. I can say that. Now this was spoiled. This and another one was spoiled by the internet. They have no problem spoiling WWE surprises, quote unquote. But Asuka got a huge reaction, by the way. People were really excited for her. Now the Asuka Becky Lynch contest, this could be fun. They always had good matches against each other. To be quite honest, though, neither one of them should be losing. Like, Asuka doesn't need to lose her return match, and Becky Lynch shouldn't be losing her bounce back match. Both of them should be doing something else. Becky Lynch should be wrestling somebody she can beat, and Asuka should be wrestling somebody she can beat, and then maybe they collide somewhere down the line. I don't like the idea of pairing them together so soon, but I like the delusional, crazed Becky Lynch. I really like that. She's doing a good job with it. And I know she's been practicing on Twitter because, nothing's sacred anymore. But I like it. I like that she has defined herself as a champion. To me, I think I said it 2 years ago. I'm not so sure if I had this channel yet. Actually, I did, because I was talking about this, that when Becky Lynch was wearing the crown and everything, it was coming across like Rocky Balboa when he was in Rocky 3, when he was the heavyweight champion, and Clubber Lang was in the distance, I pity the fool, and, give me a fight, and that kind of shit, right? And we went through the idea of Rocky losing and just kind of being like, but Rocky is a hero, Rocky can be dour and depressed, and then he gets the eye of the tiger and he has to come back. Becky Lynch is a heel. So now we're in a situation where she's lost and she, the success went to her head. So then that bubble was popped and now she has to reinflate the bubble, so that made sense. But that's why I don't understand why she's wrestling Asuka. She needs to wrestle somebody she can beat. And I think her losing to Asuka, what would that do to the character? I don't know. I guess that's interesting to see. But I would like for Asuka to have a more of a meaner edge. I would have liked for Asuka to come back as a heel. But, we're stuck with what we're stuck with. I think Vince likes Asuka as this goofy Japanese cartoon character that he has her playing. Same thing with Shinsuke Nakamura. He had just decided if you shimmy enough and say just enough English, Vince is going to be like, it's cool, just enough English, and it's all right. But if you just shimmy and shake and do a, dance and whatnot, people will really like that. I don't know why, but it's over. Both of them are over, despite the fact that they really don't do that much of anything. But I love Asuka. I'm a huge fan of Asuka. She's had a hell of a run in WWE too. So I'm all in. Asuka and Becky Lynch, they're going to wrestle at WrestleMania Backlash. Big thumbs up for me. I just don't like the contest from a storyline standpoint because both of them, especially Asuka, is a fresh opponent for Bianca Belair. And the idea that we're going to have Becky Lynch beat her just to get a rematch seems bullshit because Becky Lynch doesn't need it. Asuka can beat Becky Lynch and be okay challenging Bianca Belair, but I would prefer Asuka to be a heel. I don't want to put Bianca Belair in a situation where it's babyface versus babyface. And then because that is going to just put charcoal under the fire of people who think she's overpushed. You don't want to put them in that situation. You never want to put your babyface in a babyface versus babyface situation for that reason. You don't want to give anybody any ammunition against them. And since Asuka's such a beloved babyface, I think you should turn her heel first. That's just me. Unless we're going to do Asuka versus Ria Ripley when Ria Ripley gets the belt, which I think will actually be pretty soon. Sooner than people think. So the Street Profits popped up just to do the rundown on the show and say that they want the unified tag team titles. So they're going to be very kind and wait their turn. Okay. Sure. I like the Street Profits, but man, they have been hamsters on a wheel for 2 years now. It's been a long time since the Street Profits have done anything that matters. All right, so the Miz TV segment with Austin Theory. This was fun. So Austin Theory is being a smug bastard along with the Miz. And there's a lot of shade being thrown between the two of them, but they're both so arrogant that it doesn't really matter that much. So the Miz says that Austin Theory reminds him of himself, and that finally somebody's bringing some credibility to the United States title, and it's been about 12 years since that happened. So then Austin Theory notes, hey, weren't you the United States champion 12 years ago? And the Miz was like, oh, yes, of course I was. Then Austin Theory gives Miz all this credit for overcoming the odds and will live up to the standards that the Miz has set and continue being Vince McMahon's best investment and taking the U.S. title to newest heights. Being the youngest United States champion, he will also become the best because he can do this all day. Miz says that nobody should be demanding U.S. title matches, and Austin Theory should not be giving out United States Championship Open challenges. 9. That he should force everybody to earn a title shot. This brings out Mustafa Ali. And look, he didn't get a great reaction. I know some people on the internet seem to think so. He didn't get a great reaction. There was some mild welcome back chants when he got in the ring. A very, very mild welcome back chant. Like, it was barely audible. All right? I heard it, but it was barely audible. You would think all the people who were on Twitter, free Ali, get Ali free, which we will talk about in a second. You'd have thought this guy was going to be one of the most over dudes on the history of the planet Earth, but it wasn't. He was barely over. I don't think people really recognized him too much. And then he came back looking exactly the same as when he left. And he actually came back as a babyface. Miz asks, oh, you still work here? And then they made fun of his name. And I forget which one of them said that is Mustafa Ali's older brother. Oh, God. So Ali says that if he wanted to laugh, all he needed to do was watch the Miz wrestle. And that he was hoping that Austin Theory would do a United States Open challenge. And when Austin Theory didn't seem like he was actually going to do that, he says, are you all biceps and no balls? Then the Miz says that Ali is doing what everybody else does, is trying to use his name to get some notoriety. And that he's not going to let it happen. So then Austin Theory says that, oh yeah, he texts Mr. McMahon and the Miz will be facing Mustafa Ali. And the Miz was like, pardon? And he was like, this is what you wanted, right? And it was like, clearly he did not. Like, he didn't say anything about that. You know, he didn't say anything about it. Anyway, after the match is made, The Miz says he's going to make Ali wish he had gotten his walking papers. Austin Theory was the guy, yes, I'm trying to figure it out in my notes, that said that aren't you the guy who took his ball and went home? Because him and The Miz were going back and forth, I kind of got lost. Anyway, they referenced the Free Ali movement and Mustafa Ali asking for his release. So this is not quite the humiliation ritual that you would go through in AEW, but it was mentioned. I know a lot of people was out there taunting people who was all Free Ali and all that kind of stuff. I don't think you should taunt those folks for supporting it. Because I am also if the guy wants to leave, let him leave. I was on that train too. I wasn't going to go out there and Free Ali and he's been held captive, he's been kidnapped. That's just idiocy. And yes, a lot of those people do feel stupid right now that the guy came back. At the same time, though, they weren't going to let him out of his contract. So what was he supposed to do? Sit at home and get fat? If they're not going to release him, then he might as well come back to work. And that's what he did, So I think it's a pretty good situation that he came back. Whatever the frustration was, they probably talked it out and got over it. That happens. Sometimes you do. Like I've been talked out of quitting jobs. It happens. You get really frustrated, you have a really bad day or really bad several days, and then somebody does something to make it worse. And they say, hey, look, go take some time for yourself. Here's some PTO or some non-paid time off or whatever. And you just, all right, go and get your mind right and you come back. It's real life shit that happens. Now, I definitely think they should have released him. And I don't think it would have been a big loss that he would have been released. And I don't think it's a big loss or a big gain, rather, that he returned. I think that he is a guy that there is some promise in, that he can talk, but he is small. And when you look at him in this segment, he is small. I don't know, man. I don't hate him. I just don't love him. Mustafa Ali defeats The Miz with an interesting reversal to the figure 4 leg lock. So he didn't even hit a new finish. He didn't hit a 450 splash or anything. He just kind of rolled The Miz up. So after the match, Ciampa attacks Mustafa Ali post-match and knocks him down. Now, I told you guys, I told you, and pretty much everybody knew it, so I'm not like a genius on this tip. They got rid of Tommaso. It's just Ciampa now. They got rid of Tommaso. Now they could have named him like a Buck Rogers or something like that. So it could have been Buck Ciampa or some shit, Greg Ciampa. So I'm going to take it that it's just Ciampa. I'm going to take that as a W for the good old American public, okay? And we won't have to call the guy, Tommy Champs or, or some shit. Dylan Jet or some shit, right? So we got it. It's just Ciampa. And this seems to be very different from what Tommaso Ciampa did just last week. Just last week, he was in a comedy segment with Ezekiel and Kevin Owens, wasn't he? And he was doing that's Ezekiel, Elias's younger brother. He was doing that gimmick. And now this week, he seems to come across as bitter NXT Ciampa. And I like it. And we're in a situation where I was again going to complain. I'm still going to complain about this. That Austin Theory, Mustafa Ali, neither one of those guys should be losing. Mustafa Ali, if you're going to push him, should be coming in getting wins. He beat The Miz. Okay, let's string together some wins so that Austin Theory can actually gain something by beating him or not look too bad if he loses. Austin Theory has been winning, gaining momentum, doing a really good job. Everything is good with him, but he definitely shouldn't be losing to Mustafa Ali, not anytime soon. So what they did was they brought in Ciampa, and Ciampa is going to fight Ali. He attacked Ali from behind. I'm guessing we'll get the reasoning next week. Ciampa shouldn't be losing to Ali. He also shouldn't be losing to Austin Theory. Now, maybe it's going to be a situation where Ciampa is feeling that Mustafa Ali jumped the line or something like that. Okay, I'm cool with that. I actually don't mind the Tommaso Ciampa Mustafa Ali feud. I like that idea. Two guys can cut promos but are undersized. All right. I think Ciampa would definitely earn his keep in that situation because he works bigger than he really is. And he projects bigger than he really is too. Like it's not until you really get a visual on Ciampa doing a stand right next to somebody who is so much bigger than he is that you actually remind how small he is. Unlike Mustafa Ali, who disappeared the moment he stepped in the ring with The Miz. And The Miz is not that big. You know, he's a big dude, but he's not a giant or anything like that. But Mustafa Ali looks like a small child next to him. So I don't like the idea of Ciampa being fed to Ali or Ali being fed to Ciampa. I don't like either one of them being fed to Austin Theory right now. But at least we got something going on in the United States title picture that means something, that matters. And that Austin Theory is put on a level above these guys because now they're going to be fighting for the right to fight him. At least that's theoretically what's going to be happening. So I'm okay with that. You know, I'm all right with what they're doing here. And Raw got a lot of talent. You know, they got a lot of talent. You know, Ali and Asuka and Ciampa. And all SmackDown got was Gunther. You know, and they're not even using Marcel Bartel as a wrestler. Now, I'm guessing they're probably going to bring LA Knight and whatever LA Knight is doing to SmackDown. But that includes Mace and Mansoor. Fuck! Mace and Mansoor? Look, I'm all for repackaging, guys. Look, do what you can. Mansoor might actually work as a model. It might actually work. You know, it's an interesting gimmick to give to an Arab guy. I'm interested in that. LA Knight is a hell of a promo. He could definitely talk people into the building. He could definitely get heat. But I'm not so sure what's the legs on that group. And that's going to be a SmackDown thing. I'm not sure. You know, SmackDown really is in trouble because of that. Now, I'm not done with Raw, by the way. There's at least one more thing to talk about, and that's Ria Ripley. So Ria Ripley finally opened her eyes and says that when she came to Monday Night Raw, she won the Raw Women's title on her own. But since then, she has been saddled with tag team partners that have been doing nothing but holding her down. So she's done. She's done with all the disappointments and all the tag partners. And then she gets attacked by Liv Morgan. And I was like, all right, I don't mind this. I kind of expected this to occur. Rhea Ripley has had a revelation similar to Damien Priest's revelation, similar to Edge's revelation. So are we going to put her in that group? Yeah, I hope so. Everybody's been talking about it. Billy Body, who says that he was the guy who got like 90% of the inside dirt on WrestleMania and merchandising around it and everything. He says that they wanted to put Mustafa Ali in the group with Edge. So apparently he was the first person I saw mentioning Mustafa Ali returning. So I got to give him some credit because at least he knew that much. And he said that WWE didn't want to put Mustafa Ali with Edge and Damien Priest. But Mustafa Ali is now back and he has his own role. That's fine. But he says pretty much that Rhea Ripley will be a member of this group. That's going to be 3. But I'm guessing it's going to be more. I don't know who else could gain. I think Ciampa would really benefit from being in that group too. Because you need to, I like the idea of, there being at least one singles wrestler, that being Edge, the main event guy. And then maybe a tag team, a mid-card guy, and a girl. That would be a 5-member group. Right now, there's only 2. So they need a tag team, and they need a girl. So Rhea Ripley is going to be the girl for the group. And that actually works, because they call her the Nightmare. And that's not really a babyface thing. I don't know any babyface nightmares other than Cody. But I get it. And I want this to work. I want this to succeed. I want more for Rhea Ripley. And I truly believe that Rhea Ripley, once she wrestles Bianca Belair, will become the Raw Women's Champion. I'm a big fan of both of those girls, so I don't lose anything in Bianca Belair losing to Rhea Ripley. As long as she doesn't lose it to before she wrestles Rhea Ripley, which, knowing WWE, she'll fucking drop it to Carmella or some stupid shit like that, because that's kind of shit they do. But SmackDown, back to SmackDown sucking. When you look at Raw, they're actually using a lot of the talent. Now, Raw is not even utilizing their whole female division because they don't do anything with Doudrop and they don't do anything with Nikki Cross. Even though Nikki was in the 24/7 title thing, what was this? She was in the one of those segments. I think it was the Bachelorette Party. I think her and Doudrop was in that segment, but she hasn't done anything else. SmackDown just uses Charlotte, Ronda, Naomi, and Sasha. That's really kind of it. You know, Natalya is there, then she's not. Shayna Baszler is rarely there. You know, Shotzi hasn't been on TV in forever. I don't know if she's hurt or not. Xia Li had one promo in 2 months. Aaliyah just seems to just talk to other babyfaces backstage. She doesn't do anything. The way that Raw utilizes the talent shows that WWE now cares more about Raw than they care about SmackDown. You know? And Raw doesn't even have a title. Like, there's no world champion on Raw. And it's still not a terrible show. You know, because they're doing so much other stuff. You know, the mid-card champion is very strong on Raw because Austin Theory has been pushed by Vince McMahon. So he's not the tippy top guy. He's not like replacing the world champion or anything, but he's a strong guy. He can build a division around him, you know? So it's good. There's at least something there. In the tag team division where RK Bro is weak, but at least those guys are strong enough to hold people's attention in matches and promos. Austin Theory can do matches and promos. He don't have to work just matches. SmackDown, if Roman Reigns doesn't show up, there's people are just kind of like, oh, I don't know what's on SmackDown. You know, Charlotte talking. And people are tired of Charlotte talking. And Charlotte never has anything productive to say. And Ronda Rousey has the charisma of an enema. So, in just a short amount of time, they flipped SmackDown from being the best wrestling show on TV to being one of the worst. The worst WWE produced show outside of like Main Event or something like that. I would rather watch NXT UK than watch SmackDown at some points. You know, because at least NXT UK has storylines. At least there's something interesting going on. At least there's new characters popping up and they're doing different shit. SmackDown is literally rematches again and again and again. And there was a while before when that was Raw. And there was just the same matches over and over and over again. And it's coming across like WWE cannot carry two brands at the same time. That's what it's looking like. It's looking like they'll jump back and forth between Raw being good, SmackDown sucks. SmackDown's good, Raw sucks. So they can't keep them both at the same time. And the closest thing I can say to it is both shows being somewhat entertaining is when they had their own pay-per-views. And that was a video I was going to do before when I didn't have any content. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to sit around and talk about single brand pay-per-views. And now they have an incentive to do single brand pay-per-views. Because if you do a single brand pay-per-view, not only do you get to open up your brand to more talent being used in more storylines, but you also get more live events for your streaming service. So if they were to break Raw and SmackDown up into promotions, and there's 2 pay-per-views a month, there's a Raw pay-per-view and a SmackDown pay-per-view every month. That's 24 pay-per-view events. That's more live events for Peacock or whatever. Now, I'm not saying, I know a lot of people are going to start throwing tomatoes at me for saying, maybe you should make single brand pay-per-views. And then people are going to be like, boo, Mongo, what the fuck is wrong with you? They already promote too much stuff. There's already too many pay-per-views as it is. And I'm saying to myself, yes, that is absolutely true, which is why I don't suggest it. But I'm telling you, that would change both shows. That will actually make them put effort into both shows. As it stands right now, though, they're just going to pick and choose who they like. And that show is going to get more attention than the other show. So if you watch both, you're going to get punished for watching both. But if you don't watch both, you only watch Raw, then you're okay right now. If you only watch SmackDown, then you're getting punished right now because Raw is getting all the talent. They're getting all the cool angles and the cool stories, and SmackDown doesn't get anything. So would you rather have, hey, I can just watch SmackDown and know that SmackDown is going to have a pay-per-view, and it's only going to be guys that I actually want to see on SmackDown, and that's it. I don't have to worry about the shit that they're doing on Raw. Or you could say, I only want to watch Raw. All the Raws are going to lead up to the Raw pay-per-view, and then we're going to have that, and that's going to be it. And then that's also what I suggested WrestleMania be split into a WrestleMania Raw and a WrestleMania SmackDown. They ended up doing it as episodes of Raw and SmackDown. But my idea was for WrestleMania ... Raw. And that would be all the Raw storylines. All the Raw shit is going to be WrestleMania Night 1. WrestleMania Night 2, SmackDown stuff. You know, that's kind of how my initial idea, when I first heard about the 2-night WrestleMania, that was my initial idea. So, I don't think that they should kill the brand split. In fact, they have so much talent, they need to really strictly enforce the brand split. So, but they seem to be going in the opposite direction. Maybe we'll revisit this subject in 3 or 4 months. But let me know what you guys think of Monday Night Raw, Randy Orton, and everything in between. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll definitely be talking to you guys later. Peace out.